a good week? Give it up. You had a good week? I actually, it's the first time I got to get out on the golf course in 2 years. So you can imagine, I actually did better than I ever have. That's not a good thing, right? It was, I got my first bogey. So I was excited about it. I told everyone I talked to this week, my first bogey. I getting through this, we're almost to the end of 1 month to live, right? And it's just been a fantastic, fantastic ride. And I'm getting down to the end of this book, and I just want to say I've enjoyed kind of sharing it with you over the past 5 weeks. I really enjoyed going through it. And I know I'm not going to be here next week to kind of do the celebration end of it, but I'll be thinking about you guys, and I'm just really excited about kind of the changes that we begin to make, the way our lives have become living with no regrets, and that. And I was just, this last week has been on leaving boldly. And I couldn't help but think that in order to leave boldly, we have to live boldly. And so that was kind of my thought process through the whole week is, how can we leave boldly, and do we want to? And I began to think we all, I think on some level, have this, we just want to kind of live forever. We want something to last forever, and so this is kind of what this chapter is about, is leaving a legacy. And it kind of reminded me of the Hollywood actors and actresses, right? They have the handprint thing or whatever. You can walk, if you're good enough or if you were popular enough, you got to put your handprint on the Walk of Fame, on Hollywood Boulevard or whatever. And I just kind of thought about how, that's what and on some level, I just want to make something last forever. And do you ever pass wet cement? Right? How hard is it to pass up wet cement? Right? Anytime we ever poured cement at growing up, my parents would always mark off a spot where we could write our name or doodle or whatever, write the date and everything, because she knew if she didn't give us one spot, we just picked whatever spot we wanted, right? And you know that whatever you write on there is going to last for a long time. I actually have a buddy who was doing construction work, and I called him one day. He was supposed to be off work, and I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm working." And I said, "Well, you're supposed to." He's like, "I'm getting overtime." I was like, "Oh, well, where are you working?" And he's like, "Well, I'm watching cement dry." I was like, "You're getting paid to watch cement dry?" He's like, "Sign me up," right? But it's because someone can write it. That's this yearning to make something last and to have your name last. They have to pay someone to make sure it doesn't happen, right? And so it's just a natural thing. Now, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11 through 14 says that, "Yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in the human heart. But even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. So I concluded there is nothing better than to be happy and enjoy ourselves as long as we can, and people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor, for these are gifts from God." He has set eternity in our hearts, is what it says. Well, not that we can fathom eternity, right? But it's something that we long for, and it's something that we're all going to deal with in the end. And so, while we can't understand it, this chapter is about trying to leave a legacy and trying to make something last for eternity. Have you ever, anybody got sandcastle building skills? Anybody? We got, one up here. It's one of I've never been really good at it, right? I had the buckets that look like little castles or whatever, and you just kind of dump them, but I was just this is not my game. But there's something, when you watch a kid go out on the beach, when you're on vacation or whatever, you can watch them spend hours building a sandcastle. Or you can see these masterpieces, you've seen on TV on the beaches. And they're amazing, and they spend hours, and they're so intricate, they spend so much time doing this. But what happens every night? The tide, right? The tide just comes in, and it wipes away all their work. Right, and everything that they just spent their time doing, you go out the next morning, it looks like no one was even there. There's no footprints, right? There's no holes. I don't know what beach you go to, I guess. But it's just one of those things, all that time you spent, it just seems like you've wasted. And so I can't help but feel like we do that in life sometimes, right? We spend so much energy, time, talent, and resources on things that one day the tide is just going to wipe away. Jesus gives us some real difficult words about this very thing in Matthew chapter 16. He says, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up this cross and follow me. Whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will find it. What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? What good, right? Jesus is saying, what good is it if all the time that we spend on things that don't last, what good is that stuff if the stuff that does last is lost? Right? And so the sandcastles is kind of the question we have to ask ourselves. How do we make our sandcastles last? How do we leave this legacy? How do we create life and leave boldly? And the first step in that is the foundation. And Jesus talks about the foundation in Matthew chapter 7. He says, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house upon the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash. And Jesus tells us that if we want anything to last,